Members of the administration, guests. The time is 6:01, and I'd like to call to order the September 3rd, 2025 School Committee Special Meeting held virtually through Google Meets on behalf of the Stoughton Public School District Office. We have a quorum present, so let's begin. This meeting is being recorded for by SMAC for future broadcasting. Please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please note that when we have a special meeting, that there is no public comment during the special school committee meetings. So we're going straight to urgent business. The first matter at hand is the school bus transportation appeals. Dr. Baeta.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to see everyone. So this is a very unique situation because under your current policy and under statute, we have a request that came to my office to not pay the bus fee. I do not have the authority under your current policy and or under statute to just accept an appeal based on, in this case, fees. I would like to enter into the record Anna Smith, a parent on behalf of a number of parents related to this situation. And I believe you have her letter. Specifically, she's noting that there was an exception made to her area around Young Way, Smith, and Swallow Lane, where a total of 8 children, as 3 other children in the immediate adjacent homes on Elm Street, were provided some type of quote exception to not pay. We have no, I'm just admitting somebody in. We have no emails, no correspondence, et cetera. And that is something that Ms. Smith would tell you. We had a conversation on the phone about this, that there is no physical exchange of information going back, and this is prior to my tenure. The regulations, as you know from legal counsel's letter to you, are grounded on the issue that whoever the current school committee is has the right on a year-to-year basis to make decisions as it pertains to school committee policy. The policy as it pertains to this is grounded on, and now this is what the discussions have been at central office. This is me fact-finding with folks in charge of transportation over the last few years and what they know. And what we typically see is that when there's a bus pickup that parents consider to be an unsafe pickup, they usually request that that be reviewed. That is either reviewed by, in most cases, the local police department and or by the school department. We don't know which one it is. We don't have a point of reference for that in this case. In my experience, I've always provided it to the local police department's traffic officer. Typically, there's a traffic officer, and they review the case and say, based on this street and safety, we think there should be a bus pickup at this location because it makes it safer for everyone. That is not inclusive of a policy by the school committee of having fees. That is inclusive solely of moving a spot. So it is the Ms. Smith's comment on her letter that specifically notes that they've never had to pay. That's been an exception to this policy made when, quote, road conditions do not provide for the physical safety of the children and when the health of students make this service essential. She is quoting actually the Massachusetts state policy, and she is correct. The fact of the matter is that the policy as it respects to making a change based on road conditions can take place. However, The issue of payment is a secondary issue and not part of the state policy. That is a local decision. And you have a correspondence to me in response to my email to legal counsel, of which legal counsel makes a note that regardless of what's taking place in the past, the current school committee on a year-to-year basis can, in fact, make those changes. Now, here's the catch-22. I am never going to argue that whatever took place in the past without written notice, notification, emails is an error. I am not suggesting that the parent didn't have an agreement with somebody. I don't have any of that written anywhere. And I do not have the jurisdiction as superintendent for 17 years to just carte blanche make that decision unless the policy clearly states that the superintendent of schools can make that decision, and our policy does not. So that's one. Two, we are not changing the stop. We're simply saying that all stop, regardless of where they are, under this new policy of pay and ride, needs to pay. So what I decided to do, because I did not have an answer, was to send it to the school committee for your consideration, of which I think you have a number of things that you can decide, and I'm happy to provide you with those options if you so choose. One is that you are sticking to your current policy that does not have an appeal process, and so on and so forth, and you take it back to your policy subcommittee and decide to make a change for the future. B, that because of a lack of, if you will, a paper trail, you just accept it, but you accept this as a one-time situation. That is going to open you up potentially to other families saying, well, wait a minute, I'm paying, I have no sidewalks. My street is off of a street that's difficult. So, why wouldn't I, why don't I have the right to go to the school committee? And I would argue that they do, but only as a courtesy, because you do not have an appeal process in this process. So part C or D, whatever I'm on now, would allow for you to do as you wish for this year. I would recommend that you stay the norm of the policy that you have, which is that people pay, but then establish either an appeal process to the school committee or provide the superintendent of schools to create an internal appeal process to the superintendent of schools that would then take this in the realm. Now, I want to quote one more thing that I think is important. Regardless of your decision tonight, these folks have the right to appeal to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education under the transportation policy. They can do that if so wish, that's on them. I believe, and the practice has been that in determining a safe place for pickup and drop off has been where the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has made determinations. I do not see a record of determinations by the department based on the concept of pay and ride. So it's a catch-22 because in talking to Ms. Smith, who's been very cordial, very kind, I want to make sure I'm on the record with that on behalf of the families. Neither side has any paperwork. I did check with our technology department using emails with my predecessor's name and the superintendent before that. So we went all the way back to 2020, and there just isn't any information there.
Thank you, Dr. Baya. Any clarifying questions from the committee?
Yes, absolutely.
Karen?
Well, first off, I thought we were going into executive session. So are we not going into executive session, or are we taking the items in the agenda out of order?
If you note on your agenda, there is no executive session on the agenda. So we're not taking anything out of order.
All right.
Any questions specific to Dr. Baeta?
Yep.
Yeah, how many for the kids that we're picking up in that area, have they all already paid and reserved their spot for buses?
So my recommendation to Ms. Smith on behalf of the people she was speaking to is that everybody pay, and I would give them, actually, I grandfathered them in and said, everybody's going to get a seat because I needed a determination of the school committee. So that's the route that I took. I did that out of being, to be quite honest, just conscientious to the family, based upon that there is no written policy on process, and that actually belongs to the school committee, not to me.
So that they have paid
Yeah,
and reserved their spots.
Those families have been provided spots on buses currently for day one of school.
Okay, thank you.
Karen?
Joe, did you say that they paid or they have not paid? You said they've been given spots, but have they paid yet?
Yeah, so the route that I went with them originally was that I would give them the spot on day one of school pending school committee decision.
But they have not paid. And why is this urgent that couldn't wait 6 days for a regular meeting so that they could actually come in and speak with and look at the school committee and say, and maybe not just Ms. Smith, but maybe the rest of that community would have liked to have come in and spoken directly to the school committee? Because on the agenda, it actually says on here, I don't know why, but it says on here, there is underlined no public comment. So why can't this wait 6 days so that we have a chance to absorb this? Because I think you said there's a legal counsel letter that you sent to them and they sent back. I don't have. So why is this so urgent that it can't wait 6 days? If they have the seats already.
Yeah, so this was on an original meeting just a few weeks ago, a week ago. We did not have a quorum for that meeting. And so that meeting was a live meeting in person. And so I felt that as we were coming to the beginning of the school year, that it was important to address the issue.
So is there a reason why we can't hold this off 6 days so that they have an opportunity, if they want to actually come in and address the committee themselves?
I believe that they have that opportunity tonight, as you are in fact live with anyone who wants to come.
Public comment.
Public comment is not grounded. They would have the right to comment on the actual agenda item. Public comment is typically made for comments not on the agenda.
And are they aware of that? Because I wasn't clear on that. I'm not so sure that they would have been. They may have liked to have come in and thought they couldn't.
I informed
Urgent, I think is what I'm saying. And I would have liked to have allowed them the opportunity to come in.
Again, I just published the meetings. I did inform the families early on that it would be taken up by the school committee. I don't know what that means to them. We did have it in a live meeting. That live meeting could not take place because 3 members were unable to be there. So we moved it to this meeting for 2 reasons. Number one, to try to address the issue before we get further into the school year. But it's the will of the committee. It's not my will. It's the will of the committee. The committee does not, the committee is not going to receive a document. The committee is not going to receive a recording or anything that says that the grandfather, the quote, the you don't pay because it's a dangerous bus stop is relevant or not relevant. Because if you do so agree to that, you must publish to allow for every other family who's currently paying to come before you and appeal that they're on a dangerous street as well with no sidewalks.
I don't think that's necessarily what we have to. I mean, if that's what people want to do, I don't think that we should deny that. Nor do I think that we should deny them the opportunity to come in and speak to us and look at us. Nor do I think that we should deny the school committee the opportunity to see all the information, including this letter that I don't have in my document from the lawyer that talks about this. So I don't even have all of the information in front of me to be able to make a decision. I would suggest that the committee take this up on the agenda in 6 days. It's really not that, it's not urgent and it's not that far, and it allows the public, our constituents, to come in. That would be my suggestion for this.
So I guess just for clarification, so I just want you to just tell me you received this or not. So you have no information of Ms. Smith's letter in
I
your
have
packet.
the letter. I said I don't have the lawyer. You said that there was, you spoke to the
So,
lawyer,
so
and
there's
that's
a,
what I don't have.
yeah, so there's a letter that says Dear Blank. That came from Joe Emerson. It's on the back side of the letter from Ms. Smith. And that
That
letter
says it's
was,
from you. That's
No.
from Joe Emerson or from you?
this letter is from Joe Emerson to Dear Blank as a reference letter for the point of the school committee. Because I asked Joe Emerson to clarify based on XYZ. And so he said this would be my response to a family member who was asking about the policy. So I added this into your packet for your information.
Okay, it does, I do have that, and it does say that it's from your office, not from the lawyer's office.
This letter was written on my letterhead on behalf of Joe Emerson.
Yeah,
That
I would have
so that could be
Okay.
utilized as a response letter to any family.
Yeah, so I definitely would like to see his email, like your email to him and his email to you, so I can make a good decision. I would like to hear from the family and from
Well,
the
that's fine.
people who are coming in. That's just me, Joe.
Yeah.
That's just how I would like to do it. If the committee has a different opinion, that's just mine.
I'm happy to provide the committee any email between me and Joe Emerson as it relates to this issue.
Thank you, Karen. Any other questions for Joe regarding this matter?
No, but I would like to make a motion to wait 6 days and
Can we
allow,
provide the other committee members a chance to weigh in first or to ask any clarifying questions before we make
well,
a
I'm making
motion?
the motion, it allows the discussion. So I'm making the motion that we wait 6 days to continue the discussion and allow the families to come in on a regularly scheduled meeting.
I would like to allow the opportunity for the other school committee members to make any clarifying questions before we move to a motion and discussion.
The motion is out there.
Dr. Maeda, has any of the family members, who, might have an issue paying, put in, something for a financial exception, or is that not something they've done?
Yeah, so currently no, but the fact of the matter is that our free and reduced policy on transportation allows for free transportation for any student who meets that minimum requirement. So, and if any of these students were in fact on our free and reduced lunch, they would not be paying regardless of how much you charged.
And when this policy was because I was not on the committee when we initiated the transportation policy. There was no appeal put into place outside of those financial opportunities. Like there's no way to appeal. That was not part of the policy.
Right. So there is no appeal for financial. It's grounded on being on free and reduced lunch.
Okay, but like I'm saying, there's no other appeal regardless within the
No,
policy, correct?
The policy has no appeal process as currently
Okay.
written. The appeal has traditionally been, just for factual
Mhm.
information, the appeal process is typically written in two ways. It's either written into the school committee policy that the superintendent will in fact adhere to an appeal policy and listen to XYZ, whatever it may be. B, the committee takes on appeals. Remember that the key issue here is not a financial need or lack of need. I understand that $350 or $375 of $750 family cap is expensive. I'm not questioning that, regardless of how much money one makes. The issue here is the typical standard that I've seen over my 17 years is that when a parent asks for a issue of safety on their road, it typically resolves in the issue of moving the bus stop. And that has nothing to do with a financial obligation.
And what these parents are really arguing is that, if they couldn't afford the bus, their child would be forced to walk, which they feel is unsafe. That's the kind of root of the problem.
That could be the root of the problem in all 7 of your 8 school buildings.
Yeah, no, that's like my concern is that, this kind of gets to, it kind of affects the entire town, you know, if that's what if we choose to
Right.
continue this, that we're opening ourselves up to get many, many appeals, because, you know, a lot of walking areas in Stoughton, you know, are not safe.
Yeah, so
Jillian,
there's,
can we all, the other school committee members, a chance to ask clarifying questions?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Armando, I see you have your hand raised. Do you have any clarifying questions for Dr. Baeta?
Yes, probably ignorance on my side, but I was hoping Dr. Baeta can give us an idea of when the street is unsafe. Is it really the school's responsibility to make it safe? We pick up the kids during the school year, but if the street is still unsafe during the summer, where the kids are out playing and riding their bikes and everything else, shouldn't this be done at least in coordination with the town engineering to determine, or perhaps make a space which is safe for these kids? And we can, as has been said many times, there are many places in Stoughton that are not safe for the kids. I mean, I drive my kids to school because it's not safe.
Right.
You don't work.
But not everyone has that option. Perhaps a partnership with the town or the town engineer, and get some suggestion from him if it's possible. Stoughton is spending millions of dollars repairing roads. I think they could probably put a little bit of that money towards making the areas of bus stops safe for the kids to be on.
I'm happy to reach out to get some clarification. I do know that as a very old person living in Stoughton, that at one time we had a very active sidewalk committee in town. I don't know where that stands anymore, so I'd like to ask that question. The typical issue that happens here is I get a request for, quote, an unsafe pickup, an unsafe drop off. The typical thing would be to turn it over to the professionals who can look at what that safety means, which in the communities I've worked in, and I don't know this to be the truth for Stoughton, so I'll fact find for you as well, is that a traffic, a law enforcement officer, police department officer is their key person. They review that, where the kids are coming from and the pickup and drop off, and they make a recommendation to keep the stop, add a stop, change a stop, both. That has nothing to do with the financial obligation.
In either case, it seems like the safety issue, the general street safety issue, is not really within the realm of the school committee or the schools. It seems like it's some other responsibility, the town perhaps, or the police department. Is that correct?
So the idea here is that in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. I want to be very frank with the committee so that you have the perspective of all sides. Again, if you have a road, and I'll give you an example. I live on Chemung. At the top of Chemung, there is a sidewalk. In front of my house, it's a double line, no sidewalk. To be quite honest, when I purchased that house and I was thinking about kids, I knew that I would have to do something about that myself. That said, there isn't a sidewalk. So the question is, my community, I'm just speaking as a reference. My street has just completely turned over in the last 15 years. It's gone from an old neighborhood to a young neighborhood. And so my question would be, in reference to your comment, Armando, would be, so what's the future of sidewalks on Chemung Street to go all the way out to Bay Road? Now, I'm not saying that for my own benefit, because I don't get any benefit from that, because my child is no longer of school age. I'm just saying that those are the discussions that I think we need to have as a school and town community. I'll give you another example. We're building a brand new school off of Park Street. The sidewalks are across the street from Park Street. They're not on the side of the school. So will we address that issue at some point down the road as being a town? And I think that's what you're asking, is the issue of, if we have an issue of safety, we turn it over to the police department, or should be. They give us a recommendation on the pickup and the stop to be as safe as possible. And like I said, change the stop, add a stop, both. And all of that. But that policy, that recommendation will have nothing to do with a pay and ride policy. What you've established is what's called a pay and ride policy. You are providing a service after 7th grade and within a certain mile range in K to 6 that you do not have to provide legally. I would suggest to you that we must do it. So I'm not suggesting otherwise, so please take that. But as a service delivery model, you are trying to do the best that you can in terms of safety. That's part one. Somebody calls, they say, can we change the stop? By the way, that's happened under every leader that you can think of. And sometimes it's just a tweak. Yeah, we'll move it one house over, one house down. Some people want house to house pickup, all that stuff. Long story short, that still has nothing to do with your policy on paying.
Any other questions, Armando?
Yes, it seemed this is fairly clear cut to me. We just have to separate the safety is number one for schools. I think I can say that for everyone. But we need
Can we
to
focus
separate-
on clarifying questions right now, and when we have a
Sure.
motion, we'll move to discussion?
We have a-
Sure. I
Okay.
think Dr. Biada had answered my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, I want to make sure you have the opportunity to ask clarifying questions before I move back to Karen.
So, Joe, if I'm hearing you right, you're really saying that this might not be something that the school committee can actually really take up. It might be more something that comes down to the what if there was a sidewalk committee or a safety committee. Because if we allow these people, how many more people are going to come out? Like you said, anybody lives like off of Park Street might not have something. Different roads. I know just Atkinson Ave, which is a busy road near me, doesn't have sidewalks and kids walk to the South School. So would it be an issue?
Yeah, so we have a number of families who are currently pay and ride families, family cap in some cases. I know one of them because it happened today, where they are understanding that they have to pay and they live on a busy street.
Yeah.
The issue here is that there's a history that happened somewhere. I want to be very clear. There's a history, unbeknownst to the 5 of you, unbeknownst to me, unbeknownst to the people that work in central office, that you don't pay because it's not safe was accepted. We have no documentation, and I would argue, and whatever you decide to do, Ms. Smith will tell you that there's no documentation. So it was done in some way. Again, we went to the route of looking for emails between families and my predecessor and the predecessor before him, the transportation office, to see if there was any type of communication. There isn't any. We did our due diligence with that. I can assure you it's not perfect. But the decision on safety and making the change and providing that stop, I don't believe was grounded on a fee basis. It was based on, we're changing the stop because you're right, this new stop would be better than the stop with not providing a stop at that stop.
Any other clarifying questions, Jen?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, Karen?
Yes, absolutely. Again, I'm going to say I would have liked to have had the opportunity for the families to come in and be able to say something. So I would like to see this wait 6 days to give the families, because we're making certain assumptions for them based on,
Karen,
one
do
of
you have
the
a clarifying question?
one that we can actually speak for them. So that's my first clarification, is that I think we should wait 6 days, and I have a motion out there for that. I hope someone seconds it, because it's important that we listen to our constituents.
Are there any other clarifying questions for Dr.
Yes.
Biada before we move to a motion?
Yes, there is. When we do this, I do know that in the past, from the Hanson School, the school committee has waived fees for families within 2 miles in unsafe areas. I don't know about this family, but I know for a fact that has happened. So we absolutely can do that if we want to. I would like to know if there may be, and of course we don't know because we don't have the families in front of us, if some of these families, you said that they have a bus stop and they have seats on a bus. So the question we're talking about is just the fee. And it's a question of fee, maybe because even though these families don't get free and reduced lunch, they still are unable to pay the fee and they can't get their kids to school. So aside from just allowing them the opportunity in 6 days to come in and speak to us, does the school committee have the ability to make a policy that is above and beyond free and reduced lunch? They're saying, 50% over income of free and reduced lunch. I'm just throwing that out as an example. Is that a possibility?
The answer to that is yes. As long as the school committee does not violate state statute as it pertains to the free and reduced lunch, you can utilize any other policy that you would like. For example, free and reduced lunch is $0, but if you go through this financial obligation, you're only going to pay $175, not $375, as an example. But I would like a clarifying question asked, Karen, to you, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, through you. You noted that the school committee at the Hanson School waived the fees because of unsafe conditions. Can you speak specifics to that?
There was a child. I hate to even talk
Well,
about it.
let me phrase from that. I do not want to discuss individual issues. Would you be willing to have a phone conversation with me to give me more information for me to do some fact finding on that decision by the school committee?
If we can move this in 6 days. I mean, it would take a few days for you to be able to go through this and get back to me on it. So yes, I'd be willing to have a phone conversation with you. I know you know what I'm talking about because I know that your family knows, because I've been in Stoughton a long time too. So if we can move this 6 days to the September 9th committee meeting, then we can get these answers and we can make a better decision.
I just want to be careful about my family knowing, because I really don't know what you're talking about. So I would like to, I am not part of the vote of the committee to decide what route you want to take. I'm simply asking, I do not want to speak about individual cases online. If you have a specific one, I would love the opportunity for us to have a phone conversation and get into details of a school committee authority or vote. I actually believe, and I may be wrong, but I'm going to go on the record. I believe that this decision was grounded on who you know and not what's in best policy. That's what I believe happened here.
I'm sorry, can you explain that again? Can you say that again?
I believe that somebody somewhere basically said, we need to take care of this and these people aren't going to pay. And that's what happened. Because there's nothing on a school committee vote. There's nothing on the superintendents, 3 superintendents, me and 2 prior. And at least.
I'm sorry, you're talking about
this current case, I'm talking about this case before us tonight.
Case that you think what?
I think there was a special interest decision that was made on why these things were waived. That's what I think happened. There's no school committee.
That it was waived in the past by like a special favor to her because she knew someone?
I don't know that.
Knew someone? Is that what you're thinking? Is that what
I
you're
don't know that. I don't know that. But what I'm suggesting is what I'm suggesting is that when we looked at back to 2020 only, I don't know anything before that. When we looked at school committee agendas and minutes, we do not see waiving of fees by school committee votes.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to go back a little further than 2020 for the one that I remember, for sure. This was elementary school, and that's been a long time since my kids have been in there.
And Karen, I can only speak to the facts I have. I really don't. At the end of the day, my concern is this. If the school committee wants to continue this discussion, so be it. I really, I can send a letter tomorrow, an email tomorrow that says, you're on the agenda. If you would like to talk about it, come to the meeting.
Yeah.
I think that the facts are the facts. And there's nothing written. And if somebody wants to tell me that Dr. Rob, Dr. Marcus, the school committee voted this, then great. We'll fact find even further. Right now, we have no record.
Any other clarifying questions for Dr. Baeta?
And there is a motion on the table. And I hope someone seconds it.
All right, hearing no other clarifying questions. Karen, for the record, can you please repeat your motion?
I motion that we table this until the next meeting so that the families of Young Way community can come in, have an opportunity to come in and answer some of these questions that we have, because I don't believe that it's so urgent, since they already have the bus stop and they already have the seats, that I don't think that this is urgent. I think it can wait 6 days so the committee gives the families an opportunity to come in and make a public comment.
Okay, if you don't mind, can I restate your motion so it's something that the recording secretary can put down? The motion then would be to postpone a vote on this issue until the next regularly scheduled school committee member to provide the community an opportunity for input. Did I summarize that
fine.
correctly?
That's fine with me.
Okay, perfect. Any discussion?
I think it needs to be seconded.
Needs to be seconded.
Oh, okay. Do I have a second? Thank you.
That's sad. I apologize to the families.
Okay, hearing none, do I have an alternative motion?
I'd like to move to vote on the motion.
Okay, we need a motion to vote on though.
Yeah, I would like to vote to deny the request for the appeal. Basically, because we don't have a policy to appeal.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Any discussion?
Yes. I see this as a, whether the family pays the fee or not, we still have a safety issue. And I think whether you pay the fee or not, the child may still not be safe. And I don't see how the two is being connected. They must be separated, somehow address the safety issue. Then if the family can apply for a waiver, and if they get approved, that's fine, it gets waived. Otherwise, the family pays the fee. The two issues are separate. Yeah, I took my, part of the reason I couldn't make the last meeting is because I took my child to school in Boston. I know Boston is a lot less safe than Stoughton. Do I go up to the school and say, my child's in a place which is unsafe, no tuition for her? It's the two has to be separated. And I don't see any other way around it.
Any other discussion? All right, I have a motion and a second on the table. I'd like to call vote, roll call vote. Jillian,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Karen,
Abstain. It's wrong.
I'm sorry, is it abstain or?
It is absolutely abstain. Absolutely.
Okay. All right, Armando?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So the motion carries 4-0-1, Joe, is that correct?
Yeah, 401 will be the record. Madam Chair, if I may, I will do two things for the committee. Number one, I will seek further information from the town engineer as it pertains to sidewalks. I will also seek police department. And to Ms. Powers' comment, I will make sure that the committee gets any correspondence between me and Joe Emerson as it relates to this topic.
Can I also request that you reach back out to the family and to see if they want to submit for a fee waiver?
Just written down, will do.
Karen, it looked like you had something else you wanted to say.
Yeah, I'd like the record to show that I did ask the committee to wait the 6 days until the families could come in to have a face-to-face discussion with the committee, and that was not seconded.
It is part of the records and will be part of the minutes because it was a motion that was made. So that will happen. Okay, ready to move on. Dr. Bayedo, you wanted to update us on an urgent matter around an increase to the budget because of kindergarten enrollment. Can you provide some background?
Yeah, so I just want to let you know that we live in the place where everybody in the South Shore wants to come. We registered 199 students as of last week, new students, 199 students as of last week.
Wow.
Regardless of our politics, our views, and everything else, this is a place where people want to come because we have districts, unlike cities, that have declining enrollment in suburban America, and we are that true suburban district. In order to maintain our class sizes that we want to maintain in kindergarten, which has been historical to the district, which is under 20, preferred 18, we had to add 3.0 kindergarten classrooms this summer. That is at the South, the Hanson, and the Wilkins. The growth of students at the Hanson and the South, all over the place, K-5, is significant. I'll get you a report. Well, definitely October report, but definitely for the second January meeting, I'll get you a general report of where we are. It's not a true enrollment because we don't do enrollment until after October 1st. So your second, maybe your first meeting in October will have those numbers. But 199 new registrations. That is out of last week. And I know that Mr. Colantonio is in charge of the registration office this morning. And I quote, our registrar said to me, "Can I close the doors, please?" Because she continues to enroll students every single day. The heartbeat of the Commonwealth is in Stoughton because we continue to enroll students every single day. Now, we do have a churn, so we don't know at the end of the day what it means in terms of plus and minus. But 199 is one of our top numbers in the last 5 fiscal years.
What's the average?
We're usually just over 100, 75 to 100, 102, 100. I mean, it's a significant number. Now, again, to your comment, Karen, we don't know what that means with who's left and who's in. But as terms of new registrations, it's a significant number. Of that, 124 were in 6th through 12. That's a big number for us. So we anticipate both the OMS and the high school to be at higher enrollment than they were. But that's also where we have a high churn in terms of the kids who leave. So again, take face with this. But we did make the commitment. You'll get a full financial overview for the second meeting in September and then the first meeting in October, because that will have our real numbers, if you will. And this includes all students, special education, ELL, general education, you name it. So I just wanted to make sure that the committee had that. There is an impact to the budget. Well, again, once we know all of our hires and the retirees and the people who resigned, we added over 40 new people this year. Matt can correct me, but I believe that's our highest number in the last 3 years. And so it's a significant number of new staff. So I just wanted to make sure that the committee was aware of that before it was even more public knowledge.
Thank you, Dr. Bayed. Any questions?
Yep.
Go ahead,
Am I
Karen.
the only one? All right, first off, I'm wondering, we did set a fee for employees that don't live in Stoughton to have their kids come to Stoughton. So I'm wondering, has any of those employees taken advantage of that? Do we have any employees or town employees that took advantage? And second, I think you had mentioned it before that the hotels which housed the immigrant families are closed. No immigrant families left. And you may have said something about some of these families did stay in the town. So is this including that, or is this not including that? If I got it right.
Right. Thank you for asking, Karen. So in terms of the employee registration, I don't have that number yet, but I'll get that number for you as part of our October 1 number. That's 1. 2, our registration of students that were in anything to do with the with the hotels, those would have been part of last year's registration. They would not be considered new registrations. In other words, they were already here.
Right.
Other questions?
So is this just informational or do you need us to do something?
Only informational at this time.
Okay.
I think the concern was this has a significant budgetary impact. And since that's the purview of the school committee, it's a matter of making sure that we're informed of this as we go in case there are questions that come up from the community. So Dr. Baeta, we can expect more fiscal information and an update for the September 23rd meeting. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, you'll get the first update in terms of personnel. You'll get your first quarterly report at your first October meeting. That will give you literally where are we financially to the voted budget, what happened over the summer, and where do the numbers lie.
Okay, thank you. Armando?
Yes, just a clarification. The 40 new teachers are not in addition to the current teachers. They're replacing many teachers, correct?
Yeah, so this would be faculty, staff, support staff, not just teachers. And those would be retirement, resignations, leaves of absence. Those are not new positions except in special education where we had the team chair positions that were voted and accepted.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, our final agenda item for this special meeting is a discussion regarding policy on bullying prevention. This very much was time sensitive. Dr. Baeta, can you give us an overview of the context of why we need to get back to the DESE?
Yeah, so I'm going to turn it over to Matt in a second, but before I do, I just want to make two clarifying statements to the committee. Number one, this was timely, grounded on a situation where we dealt with a bullying case, and then we had to go through an entire review of our working documents, which then led DESE, the Department of Secondary and Elementary Education, say X. Matt will talk to you about what that X means. Second part is the school committee actually does not have to have a policy because this is an actual statute. However, in Stoughton, we've always had a policy. That is the only reason why this is before you. With most school committees that don't have an anti-bullying policy because it's just statute, it's the law, we have to have it in handbooks and we have to have an anti-bullying handbook, but it's not policy. But we do in Stoughton. We support that. We want to keep it, but that requires that you vote one change. I'll turn it over to Matt to tell you what that is.
Thanks, Dr. Baeta. So yeah, very big topic, bullying, but this is a very small suggested revision to the current policy. Like Dr. Baeta said, there's a bullying prevention and intervention plan that by statute, every district has to have a bullying prevention and intervention plan. And then some, in my 3 years of really looking at what districts do and in revising the plan, some districts also have a policy and some districts don't. They just have the bullying prevention and intervention plan. So in reviewing the bullying prevention and intervention plan, significantly drafted in like 2007 and 8 when the bullying mandate came from the state. A lot of work was done. There's a model bullying prevention and intervention plan. The Stoughton plan follows that pretty faithfully. And so in reviewing that plan as part of our updates, we have a civil rights review that we're doing. It's just part of our natural cycle of review with DESE. So reviewing that plan, taking a look at updates to the state regulations for bullying. A handful of revisions were made to the bullying prevention and intervention plan, working with the DESE for feedback in general as part of like the civil rights documents review. That's just part of the normal cycle of district review and improvement that you do with DESE, and then on some specific PRS corrective actions and feedback from them. Their I'm going to say strong recommendation because it's your policy and you vote it, was just to remove the word viable from the second page of the policy. So everyone has a copy of the policy. The policy, still with the updated bullying plan, the policy still fits the plan and supports the plan and kind of dovetails with the plan, or however you want to put that. But the word viable was a word. This is on the second page under the subsection investigation procedures. You see the strike through there. That's literally that is the only recommendation for the committee, is just to remove the word viable. I think at some point the word viable made sense there, but I think the suggestion that that word viable might make that you would maybe disregard a bullying complaint before investigating it fully. I think that's why that word is kind of problematic in bullying prevention and intervention plans and also in the policy. So it was a pretty specific request from DESE to remove that word from our policy.
And just for clarification, the word in question is on the bottom of page 2, last paragraph, first sentence, starting the principal or their designee upon receipt of a viable report. So
Right.
in case anyone's having trouble finding it.
Yep. So the recommendation is just that the policy stays as is, but the word viable is removed. And so that's really it.
Okay. Any clarifying questions for Matt? Karen?
Why was this urgent?
I think DESE was asking us, we had a PRS situation we were working with them on, and their feedback for the plan was that the plan was okay, but that word viable in the policy wasn't great.
I'm sorry, what's a PRS?
So PRS is an office at the DESE. It's a problem resolution system. So it's a place where parents can go to work through a problem with the district. It's often used for special education disputes, for bullying disputes. And so two things were kind of happening at once. I was working through a PRS. So it's about compliance. So the PRS office will take a look at a policy or a procedure, and they'll review it for compliance, and they'll make some corrective action recommendations. So that was part of that corrective action recommendations. And then completely separately is just a civil rights document review as part of the, there's a cycle of DESE reviews of district policies and procedures with special education and civil rights. So I'm doing the civil rights documents review. Part of that review was to update our bullying prevention and intervention plan, which needed a little updating. There's a few things that needed to be added. And so the feedback there too was just that word viable was kind of like, I think it might have been something that was used in 07, 08, 09 a little bit, and has become a word that it's not recommended, not best practice to have viable in there. It suggests that you would rule out a complaint almost before you considered it. And so that's why the recommendation was to, as soon as possible, request the removal of it.
And Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. I seem to recall that maybe it's not currently in compliance with a state law or regulation. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's just so the bullying regs have evolved, and it's just one of those words that is just discouraged. It's DESE's very specific recommendation to remove that word from our policy.
Karen, you have another question?
I do. Did this go through our policy group, our policy working group?
Yes, Jen and I met with John Ford, but it kind of circumvented us because it was a requirement that it needed to be changed.
Is it a requirement or recommendation? Because it says on here recommendation.
Yeah, I will, if I can just jump in. I'm kind of also Jonathan Ford at this meeting right now. So I'm the civil rights coordinator for the district, but also kind of also as the speaking for Jonathan Ford. So because this was such a simple revision, I think the hope was that you all could discuss it and perhaps vote on the change. It's not really a substantial change. It's just one word. I would argue the word doesn't change the policy at all. It just improves it. That's my personal opinion. So I think that was the, sometimes the policies are such a substantial change, they have to go through the whole committee, but it's my understanding that sometimes there's a change that's either just a recommendation or an update of a law. And that's a kind of the case here. And then such a small recommendation. So I don't know if I worded that right, but yeah.
I'm still not sure that answered that at all. It is a recommendation and it did not go through the policy working. It sounds like, Matt, you're saying it didn't go through policy working group, and Jillian, you're saying it did go through policy working group.
We discussed it with John Ford, and there is a specific policy that if it's required by law that we need to remove something or recommended through this process. It's the policy changing policy to make changes to policy.
I have that open. Is that BGB, policy adoption?
Yes, the policy adoption.
All right. So part of policy adoption, when it goes through our working group, which all policies go through our working group, is that there's supposed to be one in information, which I assume this is since it's the first time that this is coming up. And then it's supposed to go through discussion and action. And that allows for the public, again, allowing the public to come in and discuss it or hear it or read it or hear the recommendations of DESI. And so putting it in as urgent on a meeting that doesn't allow for public comment sets a very poor precedent for how we respond. And it actually doesn't adhere to policy adoption. So I would say that this absolutely per policy BGB not go through because it's against our own policies and should wait until September 9th, 6 days from now, to make the discussion and action per policy BGB.
Joe? Sorry, Dr.
Okay.
Baeta.
Yeah, that's okay. Joe's good. So a couple different things. I respect, Karen, your process that you're requesting. However, in this particular case, you are utilizing a process that is actually superseded by state law. The policy of bullying is a state regulation, pure and simple. Your policy is irrelevant. You're just putting it on paper and adding it to your 400 pages of it. But at the end of the day, the policy belongs to the state. It's one of the hardest ones. It's one of the most black and white ones. Believe me, I'm not a fan of this policy at all because I don't think you do make these changes. So when it comes to local control, which I'm all in favor of and support, Karen, your perspective of, I think you're right. When it comes to this, the policy actually comes from the state statute, which the argument is that when you have state statute, you don't need a policy because the law supersedes whatever you decide to do locally. So that's one part. The second part that I think is important to timeliness is, this is again, the second time I'll say this. We had a live meeting. We didn't have a quorum. It was a published meeting. We didn't have a quorum to be able to hold that meeting where the public is there and could have partaked and so on and so forth. But that doesn't matter because if you don't want to vote this policy tonight and say, I want to keep viable, you're going to get a memo from the state that says your local policy does not meet the state requirements. So therefore it's blah, 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 blah. How did that come about? So it comes about because there was a complaint made. That complaint to PRS, which oversees all complaints made as it pertains to process and decisions, typically in special education, but it can be both general ed or special ed, can be student discipline decisions. It can be any of those things. PRS has become very global in Massachusetts. When you go through that process, they will then require to say, well, do you have a local policy? Stoughton says, yes, we do. They then simply said the word viable can no longer be used. That one minor change, I don't believe is the intent of going through a 2 or 3 process meeting to come to a resolution, because it does not change the intent of the law. All you're doing is aligning to the law. And so I have no problem with process that you strongly believe in and have articulated, but I don't believe respectfully that it is part of this process, because the word viable is not going to change the public's outcome of the decision-making process that you're forced to make to take the word viable out of the policy.
Dr. Baeta, if I may add to that, policy, our school committee policy BGB on policy adoption does state that routine policy updates due to changes in Massachusetts or federal laws, regulations, or Department of Elementary and Secondary Education guidelines may be voted in a single session, provided the changes in language do not substantially affect the scope or impact of the policy. And I believe we have met that criteria. Karen, you have another question?
Yeah, so it says the school committee at their discretion, like you said, may dispense with the above sequence and adopt or reject policy, provided the policy is not contested. I contest the policy not because of the word viable, and I'm disagreeing with the word viable. I am disagreeing with the precedent that's being set that the public is not allowed again to make a public comment on this. And it sets a bad precedent, and the bullying prevention policy waiting 6 days is not going to change anything on a recommended policy, because it actually says in here that it is recommended, not that it has to be changed immediately, which I'm sure the other school systems haven't changed it immediately. So just as a matter of maintaining our policy, and I do contest this, and also just maintaining the trust of the public that allows them, again, to come in and discuss this stuff with their elected officials, that I contest this, not the actual word.
Dr. Baeta, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something. The state statute on anti-bullying is very much in play on day one of school. I would actually argue it's the only one that's really in play on day one of school. It's the one and only policy and practice where if a student is found to be a bully, actually carries in their discipline report from school to school, including graduation. It's the only one. So if you get in a fight in 5th grade, you get a clean slate in 6th grade. You get a bullying in 5th grade, that carries to you to 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, all the way through 12th grade, including if a college wanted to ask for it. It's the only one on the books. So the timeliness of it, and because the word viable is the limitation, I do not think interferes with the general concept of what Karen is noting, which I totally respect. I get what Karen is saying, but whatever the public wanted to say to this wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
Karen,
so
before we return to you, I would like to hear from the policy committee and have them weigh in on this.
Jillian, you want me to talk? You want to talk?
You go ahead, Jen.
All right. Well, when we met with Jonathan, was it last week or the week before, he showed us this and he explained it pretty much what Joe's been saying, that, this is a state policy. The state is telling us that we need to change this word. It does not change what happens with kids if they get caught bullying. It's a change of a word that's being pushed by the state. That was my understanding. Jillian, did you get that?
That's my same understanding, and I completely agree with Karen. If we were doing any major policy changes, yeah, we would of course want the public's input on everything. But this isn't we're not changing the policy. We are abiding by federal and state law to update this word. So we we really don't have a choice in this matter. But, I agree with you. If we're going to go and make any other changes, of course, we'd want the public input. This is just not that scenario. We would do something like that.
And that doesn't preclude the policy committee's option to revisit this policy next week or in 2 weeks, and bring it up again for information that there may be other changes that you would want to make to further align it with state recommendations or regulations. I mean, so we could still get that public input on this policy. I don't think this discussion precludes that. It's just this one word. Karen?
All right, so not to be disagreeable with you, Dr. Bayetta, but I have heard from counseling at Stoughton, and I was told that disciplinary records are not forwarded on college applications. Are you saying that if a child is found of bullying other children, that record is going to that counseling in the schools are actually sending that to colleges?
Per state statute, the only disciplinary action that may be requested of a student in this particular case, a college, if they so choose, could in fact be bullying. Yes. Are they? No. But could they? Yes.
Okay.
Kid gets into a fight.
That I wanted the public to know that Stoughton schools aren't sending disciplinary records to colleges.
No, I'm suggesting to you that the state legislature made it very clear that the only disciplinary action where a kid does not start from zero when they move from place to place within the system is the bullying law. In matter of fact, in Stoughton, that's what we do as a district. We have a discussion as building leaders. Is there a student coming into my building who has a bullying record? Yes or no? That is what takes place at the leadership level.
I'm glad you clarified that. I think a lot of people would have been concerned with that one. And again, the word viable, respectfully, Jen, isn't an issue. It's not the word. It is the process of allowing the public to be able to regularly have a chance to do this. And this policy has been put in place. And just for the sake of the public, I am contesting it because I think that if we have policies in place, we can wait until September 9th. It's not that urgent. So I'm contesting it. Just for the sake of the public.
Any other clarifying questions of Matt or Dr. Bayetta? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I'd like to move to update the bullying policy to remove the word viable.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Again, the policy states that it can't be put through if it's contested in a single meeting. And this is the first meeting that we've been able to sit and go through information, discussion, and action. And so per policy, it cannot be put through.
But according to the policy, routine policy updates due to changes in Massachusetts or federal laws, regulations, or Department of Elementary and Secondary Education guidelines may be voted in a single session. That's in the policy.
You have to continue reading that. And it says the vote to adopt or reject can be discussed and provided the policy is not contested.
You're on like 2 paragraphs before where I'm reading. You got to go to like the second to last paragraph.
I know what you're saying. I was on policy working group all last year. I know. And so what I'm saying is you can do all 3 of these. They're supposed to be for the public to understand. When we change or make policies, we're supposed to do it in 3 steps per our own policy information. So we have to follow our own policy. First is an informational session. Second is a discussion. Third is when we vote on it. And
Yes, that's for regular policy change,
That's what
Karen. This isn't a
happened
regular, this
all
is not a regular policy
And I
change.
haven't finished yet. So I appreciate if you let me at least finish informing. the
I just, no, I feel like you're giving the public false information.
No, I'm
and I
not.
don't appreciate
Go
that.
to Policy BGB and actually read it. And it says right on it, on their discretion, on the school committee at their discretion may dispose with the above sequence and vote to reject or add and vote to adopt or reject a policy following the discussion item, provided the policy is not contested. It's very clear.
Yes, and if you continue to read on, you'll see that routine policy updates due to changes in Massachusetts or federal laws, regulations, or Department of Education, elementary and secondary education guidelines may be voted in a single session, provided the change in language do not substantially affect the scope or impact of the policy.
Unless it's contested.
That's not part of that piece, though. You're giving false information.
But it is part of the policy.
Okay,
Yes, but
well, I
there's
don't know
second
that this is,
pieces.
Well,
so we
maybe
have a
John-
motion and a second on the table. Any other discussion?
A discussion to violate our own policy.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd like to take this to a roll call vote. Jillian,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Karen,
Abstain, I'm not violating our own policies.
Armando,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So that carries 4-0-1.
And let the record show that this policy change was contested due to a policy adoption violation.
Once again, it will be in the minutes, so the record will show that. Okay, that concludes our agenda for the special meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And roll call vote, Jillian,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Armando,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
and I vote aye. And I would like to say that the next regular meeting of the school committee is September 9th at the district office. Thank you all. The meeting concludes at 7:13.